with Cutler Ridge Laz.
I'm excited to be here with Andy. I mean, I'm a huge fan, dude. I've never seen a better dressed gator in my life, you know.
And it's just for you, Laz.
Oh, I get it. I'm flattered.
Yeah,
I don't,
extremely flattered.
And I got to tell you something. It's very interesting because the chevrons are up, and Andy Korge is listed as host.
Hey,
and I love Cutler's.
Attorney.
Cutler's. Look, what is Andy? What is Cutler's? You're close enough here.
Miami Hurricane fan.
Most
nothing
infamous.
has
I've
ever
been called
been more
worse.
true. I am far from a host. I don't know about an attorney over here, but definitely the most infamous Hurricane fan.
It's one of the nicest things I've ever been called.
We are so happy. We are going to talk today about a few things. You have started a new business venture. You are working with Richard Higgins Landscape and Nursery. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, of course, Canes football. We're going to talk Canes baseball,
my baby,
which we're all excited about.
Yes. Okay.
And we're going to talk about something near and dear to your heart. I'd like to start with, which is COVID. And
how is that near and dear to my heart?
You are well.
I demand he get tested immediately.
Is the sporting experience. I was thinking about it because one of the first things we talked about was we're excited about baseball. We're excited about going to Mark Light. And Laz said, I don't even know yet if we're going to be allowed to go. And I've been thinking a lot about sports. I don't know about you guys. I've been watching a lot of sports. I mean, I watch hockey. I watch basketball. Like, every night I'm watching, I have it on the background. It's not like I'm sitting there watching it, but
right.
I have it in the background. I've got a TV in my office. I've got a TV at night going to bed watching.
Driving your wife crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I have enjoyed fanless sports. I don't really notice it in hockey. Basketball, I noticed it a little bit. And I was thinking about it last night because the Heat let people in.
Yeah, yesterday was the day.
And did you see the positivity rate of the COVID sniffing dogs?
No, I go.
You didn't see it?
No.
Fact check.
There's
Tommy.
A COVID sniffing
Tell me if
dog?
I'm wrong. You had to walk past this dog. Guess how many people the COVID dog said had COVID?
How many?
0.
That's a shocker.
Every dope dealer in town wants those dogs to graduate to sniffing for drugs at MIA. I'm telling you right now. I just hope they have bomb sniffing dogs. That's all I hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That reminds me. I heard a comedian on back on Paul and Young Ron one time, and the guy was talking about going from California to Honolulu, and he lands and he gets off and he's walking and he's like, "Oh man, look at this nice beagle sitting next to me here." He left all his smokes in his backpack. This dog, I like this dog. You go to jail.
Yeah, exactly. He went to Hawaii with his dope. He just got it right there.
What was he thinking?
Yeah.
What was he thinking?
That's like going to Jamaica with it.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make sense.
Let's talk about the new venture.
Well, actually, it's a very, very old, I don't want to say old, but a very established company here in Miami, Richard Higgins Landscape and Nursery. Rich has been in the business over 40 years. So, yeah, he's old. And we got 15 acres of nothing but plush tropical landscape, all kinds of trees. You name it, we have it. And if we don't have it, we can get it. We got great relationships all over town with all the other nurseries. It's kind of funny how I got the job. I was feeding a stray dog that we're trying to trap that's in his nursery. And this guy's riding around on his bobcat, and he comes up, and I'm like, great, the owner's here. I'm going to get arrested for trespassing. So we start talking, and, one thing led to another. I said, come back tomorrow. We'll talk some more. And my former employer was going down the tubes, cutting hours and all that stuff. So it was like divine intervention, man.
That is so awesome. Cool. Yeah. I love hearing it, too. And it's interesting you say it because, first of all, we have a cat that you gave us that my daughter named Mango, despite it's black fur, black lips, black feet. And
that's a good name.
We are in love with Mango. We talk about you all the time. So whatever anyone ever says about you, you are a very good pet placement service. Anyone needs, we call her she's a street cat.
She definitely is. That cat was born on the street. If you remember, there were 4 of them, all black cats. Nobody wants black cats for whatever reason. And they're awesome cats. So we were blessed enough to put them all in homes, and they're all doing great.
And to tell the story, to be clear, He put it on social media. Those who don't follow Laz, you got to follow Laz at Cutler Ridge Laz. And he has he sent out a tweet, and it said, found these kittens. And it was just like this blurry, terrible picture. You couldn't see anything. Yeah. And he said, I found these kittens. They're can't find the mother. They need homes. They're full of fleas, full of worms. And then in all caps, who wants one?
Yeah.
It's a sign of a big heart. So obviously, I'm a little confused. He's a Kane fan. He's got a big heart.
A Gator fan that's confused. Shocking.
He's honest. He tells you that they got fleas and everything. I'm confused here.
Well, for the most part, when we find animals, we take them in, we get them to the vet, we get them cleaned up. But these kittens were in desperate need to be somewhere. I mean, we didn't know how old they were, and God bless Dave and families like Dave and that just come and take animals and get them right. Too many people dumping animals. There's a huge issue in Dade County with people dumping dogs now because of the pandemic. People out of work, people getting sick. Unfortunately, a lot of people passing away, and these animals are just discarded. So we've been fortunate enough to find a lot of dogs
really
and cats.
Work it. And then I want to talk about the horses. So it's very interesting. Hearing about you getting into the landscaping again, it's like, that's my aim, right? You were always on the weekend. You're feeding the horses. I know you're passionate with the horses on top of the other animals.
The South Florida SPCA, helpthehorses.org, is one of the best organizations that I've ever been a part of. These people are truly, truly passionate, and it's in their heart to help these animals. We got about 34 horses on the farm now, plus I don't know how many sheep and goats and all kinds of, cattle. And they find these animals abused in the worst condition. The most heartbreaking story is a horse that they found tied to a tree in the middle of the Everglades. People just left it out there. It was, they're dying. They're starving. You can see their ribs. You can see the bones in their neck. And a couple of months of being fed and loved on and taken care of. These are just beautiful animals. So it's one of those places that you can go and volunteer and you can see the fruit of your work. You see these animals evolve and become from very sad, scared creatures to these. They hear my voice, and some of these, they know me. There's a donkey on there named Hee Haw. And I always bug my wife, and I have to tell this, honey, she's listening. Hee Haw's my wife's cousin. So I always bug her about, and he hears my voice, and you hear him, he starts, making noises and crying and stuff. And I walk over to it, and until I pet that guy and I give him a carrot or an apple or something, he's not quiet. So these animals know who rescues them, know who loves them, knows who takes care of them.
It's right. I'll tell you, I'm always consoling friends when, you lose an animal.
Oh man.
And I always say, it'll be like, a big tough guy. We think we're so masculine, and the guy's crying over, a stupid cat, stupid dog.
True.
And I always say, it's like, it's a stupid dog, but the love that they give us, it's just immeasurable. And there's something about rescue animals. I've always loved rescue animals that I swear they know. I swear they do. Know.
You know what, guys? I come home every day, and my dog, Ella, who's a rescue. I have two dogs, Yoko and Ella. Ella comes with a toy and greets me at the front door.
My dog.
Now, my wife does not come and greet me at the front door.
She's like hiding, like, golly.
He's back.
Yeah, he's here. I go take a shower. That's the first thing. I walk in the house and go to the shower. The dogs are giving me toys, licking me, want me to play with them. And my wife's like, don't touch me, don't kiss me. Go take a shower first. All my dogs are rescues. I have 5 dogs, all off the street. One rescued from a puppy mill 14 years ago. He's going to be 15 this year. And I would never buy a dog. There's no reason to spend your money. Adopt, don't shop. People, please don't buy puppies. Don't go to these puppy places, because more than likely you're buying an animal that was bred and raised to be sold. And a lot of times you get sick puppies and they'll tell you, if it dies, just bring it back. We'll replace it. You know what I mean? That's heartless and cold. There's so many puppies and dogs available for adoption at Miami-Dade, and so many rescues like This Is the Dog and other rescues that work with us. Genuine people that find these dogs on the street, get them back to health, and then find homes for them. So
they always seem so appreciative. Those are always the most loving dogs I've had were the ones that I rescued. We had, they have animal services comes in here every month, Tommy, or something like that. Every 2 weeks, animal services come in here. Well, I was doing a show last week, and they had this most beautiful dachshund in the lady's hands. But the dachshund had like a ring around its nose. So I went up and asked her, what's with the ring? And she says, well, the owner had the dog's mouth duct taped for days. And when they were able to finally take the tape off, it ripped the dog's skin almost to the bone of the dog. And it's like, who treats animals like that? I don't understand, but you're right, Laz. That's the way to go.
It's heartbreaking. This dog that I was feeding at the nursery that got me this great job, we named him Georgie. He was dumped with a rope tied around his neck. And he is so scared and so abused that we have not been able to get within 10 feet. And we're feeding him for months. So much so that he's getting bigger and healthier, and the rope is tightening more around his neck, and we just can't get him. So we're about to drug him. We're about to slip him a Xanax and have him fall asleep and then take him. You know, because he needs help.
That's what my wife does to me. She slips me.
Yeah, whenever my wife wants me to go to Home Depot or Walmart, she slips me a Mickey and she sends me on my way. You know.
So we're gonna get into some canes here, but your story of being on someone's property, taking care of pets, does not surprise me, and it reminds me of a story of another landscaper. I'm not gonna say who it is, because I don't have permission to tell the story. But one day I asked him, "How did you get into all these plants?" And he said, "It was 1972. I was broke and I was driving a VW, and in my travels, I'd seen a VW on a property down in Redlands. So I went at night and I went over and I started to steal a tire. I needed a couple tires and I was stealing tires off of the back of this. And of course the owner comes up with a gun. I'm like, what you doing?
So Redlands, everybody's got guns.
What you doing, son?
Yeah.
And he's like, I was honest with him. I'm like, I was stealing these 2 tires. And he's like, why are you stealing my tires? And he said, well, why don't you just buy tires? I don't have a job. And he goes, you know what? Drop everything, put the tire back on, come back tomorrow, and I'll put you to work.
Wow.
And that's a true story. I won't name who it is.
Oh, I believe it.
I'll get permission later to say who it is. And that's how he got into it. He's like one of the leading exotic plant guys. When I tell you who it is, you'll know who it is. And that's how he got into it, was being on someone's property. And it's like about second chances. And another time we'll talk about second chances.
Oh, I know all about second, third, and fourth chances, man.
So second chances, Canes baseball.
Oh,
second chances in that last year could have been a magical year. Everyone coming back.
Everybody, 8 out of 9 starting hitters are coming back. The top closer in baseball is transferred to Miami, and we got the #1 recruiting class in the nation. Canes baseball is something that is still, one of the traditional Miami championship teams. They've never really fallen off. They've had off years, but they've been able to maintain. And they've been able to do that by sticking with the recipe. Ron Frazier built this program, actually reinvented college baseball. I call him the Wizard. And, handed it off to Jim Morris. Jim Morris, rode the Ferrari around for a few years until the wheels fell off. And, Gino's back and he's building. And I always say this because I have to be honest, when they announced Gino was going to take over, I'm like, here we go. Nepotism, his old man's associated with the school. They're going to promote this guy. And I could not have been more wrong. Gino has done everything right, down to being competitive again. They came out last year ranked #1 in the nation. And you're going to enjoy this. The only losses that they really, they had at home were against the Gators.
Yes.
And the Gators had one of the top teams in the country last year. I think they're #1 out the gate this year.
Yes.
We'll be in Gainesville on February 29th to test that ranking. The Miami baseball program, first of all, Mark Light Field is the last standing original sports venue in Miami. They got rid of Bobby Maluto Stadium. They got rid of the Orange Bowl. Joe Robbie Stadium's still there, but they've had so many names, I've lost track. So, Mark Light Field is one of the best places in town. The best shakes, Mark Light Shakes. It's the atmosphere. It's a family atmosphere.
Beautiful.
It's like when we used to go to the Orange Bowl when we were kids and we used to get down on the sideline. Gino Toretta can tell you, it was family. There was no, you can't come here. I know times have changed and security and all that, but it's just so family oriented. We got the Mark Light mob. We make the most noise in the world. You go there, it's like to me, it's like being in my living room.
Yeah. Plus, there's something to be said for having a stadium on the campus.
Oh, it's great.
It was one of the things that but being in Coral Gables, it's impossible. But I always wanted the U to have an on-field football campus, because for me, really, I wouldn't even go back to any Gator games if the stadium wasn't on the campus. That's what makes it for me as an alumni, to be able to stroll through the campus and then get to that stadium and walk into the game is electric.
Look, I understand if I spend $1 million on a house, the last thing I want on a Saturday morning is some college kid puking in my petunias. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get it, but you know, they knocked down the Orange Bowl. Don't get me started. You know, but I believe that the next best thing, you know, after the Orange Bowl would have been building a stadium at Tropical Park.
Yeah.
Made the most sense in the world. What's Tropical Park? A freaking stable. I mean, they got horses there and they got a park.
Right.
And it never materialized, never came to happen. If we had, you know, big time boosters that cared, you know, about something else than the medical school and all that other stuff, which UM does great work in the medical school, with the medical school and U Health and all that. But football built the school, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't feel like the atmospheres at Joe Robbie or I'm sorry, at Hard Rock Stadium it nurtures the Canes have never had really success there.
We've had 2 games.
I know.
In the time that we've been at Joe Robbie, it's still Joe Robbie to me. My wife makes fun of me. She says, "Is it still liquor drugs too?" Whatever. You know, we've had 2 games at Joe Robbie where we have felt that electricity of the Orange Bowl. 2016, we whooped up on the Gators.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame 2 years ago.
Notre Dame, yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. That Notre Dame that tailgate was off the hook. And then the atmosphere inside the game, because
it was like the Orange Bowl.
The jams have always been great. The tailgates have always been awesome. That's what we're known for. Miami fans are undefeated in the tailgate. But when you walk in that stadium for a game like Notre Dame, it felt. I told my wife, if you were never at the Orange Bowl in that 58-0 run, this is what it felt like.
I wasn't at that game, but it's funny because I actually never, and the people told me that, you told me that, I didn't believe you. And I was there for FSU, the last FSU game with a come behind win, remember?
Yeah.
And it had that feeling, like it had that energy. Like it was.
Yeah,
like,
that was.
I mean, I hate to say it, not that I glorify this, but like I walked in there, and from the minute I got there was fist fight after fist fight. Every concourse.
That's the Orange Bowl.
Like it
That's
was.
The Orange Bowl.
It had that energy of just like it was crazed. I want to take you back a second. It was funny. You were talking about Ron Frazier, and I heard a fact one time that I thought was so interesting. You know, FSU grad, and lived in a dorm. Think about this dorm room: Ron Frazier, Lee Corso.
Oh my God!
And guess who else? Guess who else was their roommate? FSU football player.
Going back a long time.
Burt
Reynolds.
Think about those 3 men in a dorm room in Florida State in 1972.
Love to be a fly on that wall.
Burt Reynolds, Lee Corso, and Ron Frazier walk into a bar.
You talk about 3
joke.
Yeah.
You talk about 3 bad dudes, right? Badass dudes who are good at what they do.
Let me tell you something real quick. Ron Frazier baseball camps I never got to attend one, but I remember, you know, in the 70s as a kid going and watching my brothers, you know, jump around. And this is a quick story. My dad was passionate about baseball, loved baseball, the best baseball game. I'm a baseball fan first because of my father, Yankee fans probably. And I remember my father screaming at one of my brothers. I forget which one, you know, he did something wrong, dropped the ball, you know, got struck out, whatever. And I remember Coach Frazier running over and said, Poppy, no. You know, that was Ron Frazier, you know, and let me tell you something. Nobody won more than Ron Frazier. You know,
was loved more than Ron Frazier. I mean, you never hear you. I don't know of I've never heard a nasty word ever said.
You won't.
Ron Frazier.
In college baseball circles, you won't, because he put college baseball on the map.
He did.
Before Ron Frazier, college baseball was on the last page of the sports page, right before you got to obituaries or the guy advertising his tinted window business. And Ron Frazier put it on TV and put it on the map. College baseball owes Ron Frazier a debt of gratitude, because college baseball is as popular as it is today because of the Wizard.
It's interesting you say that too, because my wife is listening. Shout out to Eric Zaleska for listening in. My wife's listening in, and her favorite sporting event is Canes baseball at Marklight.
How could you
Friday night? And I will admit, I get the girls to stay until about the 5th inning.
Oh, you done well.
And then it's time to go over to you got to go over to the Titanic.
That Titanic,
have dinner.
Yeah.
But it's just like the best Friday night.
That
Saturday
fish and
night.
chips at Titanic is.
I gotta tell you something. I have another Park Light story. Talk about in campus. I remember leaving somewhere with my wife, and it was a weekday. It's around 6 o'clock. I don't know why I was by campus, and I see the lights on in the winter. And I see a crowd, like I can hear the crowd. I'm like, what's going on? I had no idea. I pull up and I yell out the window, like, what's going on? They're like, oh, we're playing a Canadian national team. So I park, we go in, it's free. And you walk in, and it was so interesting because there's the Canadian national team playing with wood bats. And then you got the Canes. And do you want to guess who won?
The Canes.
Canadian national team.
Are you serious?
Because they were all MLB prospects.
Oh, okay.
It was very interesting to see, and then it was funny watching the game because it's the key to baseball. And guess why they won? It wasn't so much the bats, it was the
pitching.
Yeah,
these are all guys that are going to be in the MLB in the next year or two, playing on an international team.
Probably playing a bunch of freshmen.
And you see, and also I can't remember what the tournament schedule was, but they were probably playing together. Here's Canes just kind of gearing up for winter practice. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's a winter practice.
It would have been the fall. It would have been a game in October, right? And it just made me think about like that, how that pitching is so key. The guy's throwing 94 miles an hour. Yeah, these kids ain't see. It was really
they're not even seeing about at that point.
Cool to see. So I want to bring up Canes football. We haven't had We haven't had a chance to kind of do a post-mortem on the season. Where are we at?
That's appropriate.
Post-mortem. Really what do we know to be true about the Canes program right now?
I mean, unfortunately, what we know to be true about the Canes program right now is what we've known for the last almost 20 years. It's in the gutter. I mean, to me, to you, to guys that grew up, in the glory years and remember what it was like when it was Canes football. I mean, it's a shadow of its former self. And, I never root against a Canes football coach, and I never will. I was huge fan of Randy when he got it. I thought that school had made the perfect choice. This guy knows how it's built. He was here when it was at its best, and he knows what to do with it. And unfortunately, he drove it into the ground. Al Golden got here comes this guy. If you can succeed at Temple, I mean, you could. It's like New York. If you can make it at Temple, you can make it anywhere. Al destroyed it. I mean, and honestly,
but don't you think Al Golden was delivered kind of a bad hand?
Oh, absolutely,
walking in the door.
But you know what? It's twofold, and I blame Al's agent. You got to do your due diligence, man. This is college football is a small community. The NCAA, and these coaches, they have a good relationship. If Al's agent would have done his homework, he would have known the hammer was going to come down. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, Al took a job at a school that was about to be put on probation, that the scholarships taken away, and just bad all around. But also, Al was very stubborn. Al was a guy that he wanted it done his way, and credit to him, he had it his way, and his way got him fired. Should have got rid of D'Onofrio. And I'm putting the D in because we're on radio, because you're really supposed to call him Onofrio because there was no D to him.
Right.
And he should have got rid of his defensive coordinator. He should have went and got somebody. In this situation, the school's been cheap on football. They've been trying to put together a championship program on a shoestring budget for years, and that's really hurt us. But Al could have gotten any defensive coordinator he wanted in the country, and he chose to stick with his guy. And his guy got him out the door.
Is Manny making the same mistake?
Now
Blake Baker now was hired. I saw this. I was thinking about you.
Yeah.
Hired as the linebackers coach.
That's great.
At LSU. I was thinking about you when I saw that, by the way, because I know, and my son-in-law, who's a big Kane fan, that just has been telling me for 2 years they got to get rid of that guy. And Romberg, on the show that I do with him here, Wednesdays at 10 a.m., he was saying that, it was just a loyalty factor, that he thought that Manny just, wanted to make sure his buddy kept that paycheck coming.
Well, I mean, that's the case for Al. And you know what? That's the case for Mark Richt. When he came and he insisted on calling his own plays, which that basically got him out the door at Georgia after a great run there. He insisted on having his kid coach quarterbacks.
It was a big mistake.
Nepotism is terrible anywhere. And unless your kid or your cousin or your friend is talented and suited for the job, great, but they're trying to retain guys that shouldn't be coaching here. And you know, to Mark's credit, you know, he really wasn't going to coach after Georgia for a while. He was going to take a break, and he was lobbied and he was offered the job, and his family wanted to come back to South Florida, and you know, he took it. You know, but really, Mark Richt was going to sit out for a while and take a break after, I don't know, what, 10 years at Georgia or something like that. So really, he took a job that honestly he really didn't want. Yeah. You know, and that hurt us. That set us back. I think Manny. First of all, look, I've learned this the hard way. You can't OJT in a program like Miami. You got to hire seasoned, you know, competent and talented head coaches. Yeah. Development is the biggest problem we had of Miami. Every time somebody talks about Miami's not recruiting the same players, I want to pull my hair out.
All the guys, NFL, some of them are doing great in the NFL.
That, and also you see a lot of these guys that come here, they're recruited by the top colleges also. You know, if Alabama, Ohio State, Florida, and Clemson are recruiting you, you're a top prospect.
Very few. Yeah. I follow that closely. I'll be at a high school game. I'll look up somebody. Very rarely do you see Miami and not see Ohio State,
of course,
Clemson. Like, we are bringing the right kids in.
No, and you'll see these kids that have no offers from those top schools, Miami offers, and the next day, a lot of those schools are coming to see him and offering. You know, so you can't give me the talent.
That's not the problem.
No, the talent is not the problem. You know, Randy Shannon had a number 1, a number 7, I think a top 15 class.
Yes.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong.
All those kids from Northwestern.
All those bulls from Northwestern. And you know, he couldn't do anything with them because development. You have to develop these kids. And I was talking to Dave before the show, you know, if you ask Gino, if you ask Sapp, if you ask all those guys, the games on Saturday weren't the problem. They go out there and smash people. The practices. Keeping your job was the problem, was the obstacle. If the guy behind you is better than you are in the old Miami, he was going to play. If he practiced better than you, he was going to play. I don't care what your last name was, where you came from, or how many stars you had behind your name. And we've lost that.
So I want to ask that question because it's very interesting. We were talking before the show, and I was saying how I was talking to an FSU player one time about FSU getting good in the early 80s. And I didn't finish the talk. It was interesting because what he said was, we practice hard. Everyone thought Bobby Bowden. You see him as this nice old man now. He's like, there was incredible attention to the detail. And he said, when I would walk to practice, he goes, I swear to you, I would think to myself, like, don't get killed and don't get crippled, right? Don't break a neck today. He goes, that was the level of intensity that we practice with. And he said, we started playing teams we had no business playing, and we lost. And he goes, and then we kept playing them, and it was like we kept losing, but it's like, oh, we can play with these guys. And he goes, then the program exploded, right? They started from scratch. I bring that up because you and I have been on the sidelines at high school football games. If you go to a Central Rockets game, if you go to a Northwestern game, the players do motivate themselves. The coaches are on them, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Rockets get off to a close start and the players by themselves sitting there and somebody grabbing each other by the face mask, screaming at each other. And whenever I see that, it reminds me of the old Canes teams were like, to a certain extent, were like self-coached.
Yeah, right? Player coaches.
At your position.
The most famous soundbite in Hurricane football history is Ed Reed in the tunnel talking about Joaquin said dominate, and we're not doing it. This guy's in the tunnel. And they were behind what? They weren't even behind. I think they were a couple of points, maybe. I don't remember. I mean, I'm old. But, they weren't being blown out by any stretch of the imagination, but they weren't dominating. They weren't roughing the other team up. They weren't having their way with the other team. And to those Hurricanes, those teams, that was unacceptable. It was a foregone conclusion for years at Miami Hurricane games. There's no debate. We're going to win. It's just a matter of how far up are we going to be on the score at halftime so we can go out and party in the parking lot.
And it's interesting you say that. That's one thing I go back to the disconnect, because one thing I see is when we see Central, when we see Northwestern,
Booker T, all those Columbus,
go to state playoffs, they don't play down to the level, right?
Nope.
They go and they will beat whoever from North Florida 45-3. They don't let up on the gas.
If you want us to stop scoring, don't let us in the end
zone. So what is the difference I guess it's just more competitive, and it just seems it's interesting because the jury's still out on Manny. We all want Manny to succeed, right? Manny has a lot of things going for him. Like there's nothing not to like about Manny.
He's a likable guy, right? and he's a Miami guy. He's a
likable guy. He's got the pedigree of it. He's worked his way up. I mean, I don't know. I've seen him.
Absolutely.
I've seen him kind of preaching at church.
You remember when he was in Texas as defensive coordinator? He did a stellar job. He won a national championship on that staff with Mark Brown, didn't he? Yeah. So, I mean,
he got fired.
And he got fired.
But here's my point.
He was a sacrifice, to be fair to Manny. He was a sacrifice.
But that's right. My point is, it's funny. I've seen him preaching at church, talking about his journey and dragging his family around. Like, he's put in the time, right? He has come to this through grit and grind. The jury's out because there's still a feeling of the team underperforming. Would you agree with that?
The jury is out, and in fairness to anyone that has ever coached, played, or whatever here, and we as Miami fans are spoiled. My kid's never seen a winning Miami team. My kid was born in 1999. He doesn't know what the hell happened in 2000, 01, 02, whatever. My kid knows that Miami's a great program and a championship program and a dynasty because of the stories I've told him. So we pass this mentality on down to our children, and the expectation never dies. The standards never lowered. So when a coach comes here, and I get it, it's a different football world, it's a different atmosphere, it's a different college football playing field than it was back in the 80s and 90s. But we don't expect anything less than national championship every year or bust.
And I don't want to beat you up, but your buddy Eric says, until Manny wins a national championship, he won't have the respect from the old Miami fans. And I will say,
I agree.
But I will take you a step. But I will take.
I agree.
But I'll take you a step further. The problem is, what's going to hang around his neck was that FIU loss.
Well, can I just give you a little bit of my impression of all this?
That gave you perspective.
Well, the game perspective.
Canes fans, grab your popcorn. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be awesome. Unbiased, I guarantee you.
No, and I'm learning this from sitting next to Brett Romberg and hearing his thoughts as a guy that played on that last great team. Okay. He pointed out a few things to me. And if you listen to our show, not this week's show, but last week's, he really ranted about it to a great degree. One thing he talked about was what you alluded to before, Laz, was the accountability on the team. He saw, not so much this year, but last season, a complete lack of accountability. Players like Tate Martell coming and going, showing up on a post on Instagram, lounging on a beach in the middle of the season in Mexico. He said that when he played there, that would have never, ever occurred at the U. And no time would a player have left the team, abandoned the team in that way, and have been received back on campus the way Tate Martell was received back on campus. Number two, you mentioned the FIU game. There's rumors that Jared Williams was high on marijuana during the game. And that rumor is not just one or two people that's spreading baloney. It's probably a fact, okay? And I've heard it from a lot of people. And again, that fish, in my opinion, stinks from the head. You got to have these players. What Brett's saying is they're just getting the wrong mentality. These guys might be, physically great at a high school, but they don't have the mentality to be a Cane.
Look,
and I think there's some truth to that.
I never want to bash a kid because I'm a father first. Before I'm a fan, before I'm anything, I'm a father. My son Jordan, I love my kid. He's my blood. He's my everything. But guys like Tate Martell would have never made the team here. Never. He would have never played for Jimmy Johnson, never for Howard, Erickson, none of them would have. I don't even think for Coker. You know what I mean? And that says that. But the marijuana thing, it's terrible excuse. Terrible excuse because, I was born and raised in East Little Havana. And everything that comes with that in the 70s and 80s. I'm a street guy all my life. It's no secret. And, we I was an orphan. We made our money however we could and worked a lot of, they call them traps now, but we sold a lot of grass on the streets. And I will never name names. It doesn't matter now. We're all old men now, but I can't tell you how many Hurricane players would come through and buy pot all the time. Marijuana is part of the college experience in this country.
Well, I'm not putting down the fact that he's smoking marijuana, just the fact how irresponsible he might have been smoking it just before he's starting a game. I mean, to me, it's just it exemplifies what the problem has been. The other thing, and Eric Zaleski said it here best, I thought. Got to be able to groom and grow players again, not rely on the portal. I don't like the portal.
I hate the portal.
Football.
I hate the portal. You know why? Because it provides a kid an out. Once you sign that scholarship, to me, it's a binding contract. It's year to year. Jimmy Johnson put, scholarships are renewed year to year. But when you provide a kid an out, if he's here, he doesn't like the taste of the ice cream. If he doesn't like, the dorm room, he can jump in the portal.
It's crazy.
And anybody that wants him can take him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that further, aside from, can I say pussification?
Yes.
Aside from the pussification of college football with the no tour days and all that other stuff, that's another way that you diminish the competition in college football. And again, to say that college football has changed to the point where Miami can compete, it's not true. Explain to me how Notre Dame still remains relevant, how Alabama remains relevant, how Clemson, came back around. The same way that those teams have remained relevant in the changing atmosphere of college football, Miami can do the same. To me, the problem is fundamentally hiring rookie head coaches, guys that have never ran programs or have run very small programs, to come here and actually OJT and figure it out as they go on the job training. And then, the failure to develop kids. I've never liked the star system. And I think a guy named Ed Reed, who's pretty well known in football circles, can tell you the same thing. I don't think Ed Reed was recruited by 2 schools, us and Eastern Carolina or something like that.
Right.
Had no stars, had nothing. And he's in the football and college Hall of Fame right now. And we were having a very lively discussion today.
Bunch of them like that.
Yeah, we were having a very lively discussion today on Twitter, Titan Kane and some other of my buddies about Ed Reed coming to coach here. And to me, it's a fantasy. I don't think Ed Reed has any interest in coaching at this point right now. Why would he? And if he did, why hasn't he already come? Miami hired him and it was a PR move. Ed can't recruit. Ed can't coach. Ed can't do anything. It's just the fact that you have Ed Reed on the staff, so to use the excuse of, we're not getting these top guys. Miami got, brick and mortar guys and made them stars. The biggest indictment of Miami football in the last 20 years is that kids come here top rated out of high school, wanted by all the top programs. They get here, they do nothing for 3 or 4 years. They go to the NFL and like Sam Shields and Feliciano and all these guys are playing in Super Bowls or 4 Super Bowls or in deep in the playoffs for conference championships. And they did nothing at Miami.
Yeah, it was like they were in a twilight zone.
Yeah.
While they were here.
It was like they were on pause during college.
Yeah, and what happened to the players like the quarterback for Alabama this year, Jones, right? What happened to players like that? He sat behind Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. He didn't get in the portal and say, well, I'm leaving. I'm not starting as a freshman. And he paid his dues, and look at where he is today.
Dude, look at that.
Winning a national championship.
Look at that Florida quarterback. Right, he never started a game
in high school
until this year.
Right.
We're gonna have to wrap up. I do want to talk about who needs to call you. What services are you guys offering? Why
do we have to wrap up here? Exactly.
3:00. He's got someone coming in.
All right, real quick. Richard Higgins Landscape and Nursery is a full service company. We grow, we design, we install, and we maintain. We have our own nursery, so whatever you need, a coconut palm, tibicea, whatever you need, we have it. It's planted in our yard. So we dig it up, we bring it to your house, we install it, you tell us how you want it. The best thing about it is we're not big on blueprints. We work with a lot of the local architects, the big names, but we're not huge on blueprints. We're big on going in your yard and you telling us, this is what I want here. And Rich will tell you, well, that might not look so good there. Let's put this and let's try that. Personal, service that's, designed around your wants and your needs in your yard. We're huge on growing, design, install, and maintain.
So the idea is plants. The idea is landscape services.
All kinds of commercial, residential. We're doing, somewhere between 13 and 15 big properties in Pinecrest right now. We count as clients, just to throw a couple out there. One of the partners for Lennar Homes, West Miami, and some big companies that we represent that I don't feel comfortable naming right now because they haven't asked us to, they haven't permitted us to or given us permission to, but I'm sure the next show I'll be able to talk a lot more about that.
And that's you have foreshadowed what I was going to say is we're going to have you come on every week at 2.
2 p.m. the Cutler Ridge Laz hour.
When are you going to become Cutler Bay Laz?
Never. And I'm actually leaving Miami. I'm actually moving. Towards the end of March, we're moving up north so I can bring all my animals and my horses and everything onto my house and my own property. So, but yeah, on Fridays, 2 p.m. Richard Higgins Landscape and Nursery is sponsoring the Cutler Ridge Laz hour.
Richard Higgins Landscape and Nursery. How do people get hold of you, Laz? At Cutler Ridge Laz on Twitter.
And rhiggins.com is our website. It's currently under construction, but you can reach us there. Also, Richard Higgins Landscape on Twitter. And
your cell phone?
786-525-2061. Anybody needs plants, any kind of services, landscape, anything.
I didn't mean to
put any gators that want to harass you.
Any gators that want to call, I'll refer you to Andy. I got his number. But you got to call after midnight. That's when I
put him on the spot. But I got to tell you something. The old thing about the shovel friends. You're one of my shovel friends, and I would call you at 3 a.m. if I needed help.
And I'd be up and I'd be right there.
But no one has a bigger heart than you. So get hold of Laz, and you are, Laz, a Miami treasure. Thank you for all you do. I'm serious. Everyone loves you. And they love you because of your heart. They love you. We are all imperfect people.
Oh, absolutely.
You have
even me.
I'm gonna look up imperfect in the dictionary when I get off the air, and I'm sure there's gonna be a picture of you in a suit,
imperfect,
in a suit,
blazer.
Real quick, I just want to say real quick, and I appreciate the compliment, Dave. I feel the same about you. It's only by the glory of God. I was a very ungodly person growing up all my life until Jesus found me in a prison cell in North Florida almost 20 years ago, and then He blessed me with the best wife in the world. And then
that's true.
Yeah, Maureen is by far my best half.
Fact checker Tommy can verify.
Hey,
Maureen is the best wife.
Hey, I don't want to leave Tommy out. Tommy, can we fact check this real quick? Was Belichick great because of Brady or Brady because of Belichick?
Brady on his own is better than Belichick with whoever.
So even cheating, Belichick is no Brady. All right, there you go. I got you. And a fool and his money are soon party was made for people that bet against Brady, and I'm speaking from personal experience.
Next Friday, 2 p.m., we're going to do it all. We're going to have the prognosticator, Takedown Tommy, is going to make his Super Bowl predictions and all the prop bets from the opening coin toss to the Super Bowl show. I mean, halftime show and everything. So,
I got to bring my pen and paper because I got to write that. I got to make some of that money I've lost on Brady over the years, and being a huge Dolphins fan, I got to make some of my bread back. So, hey, thanks everybody on Twitter for listening and checking us out. Please check us out every Friday, 2 p.m. And we're going to try to put on the best show imaginable. Live and local, Miami guys. That's all we are. And, yeah, we got a gator here, but, you don't pick your friends. It's family. It's a family.
You upgrade once in a while, Laz. So you got it right.
Thank you, Miami. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Laz.
Thank you guys for having us.
We'll see you next week.